Hey, GLP-1 plus size community. Before we jump into the podcast, please take the time to leave us a 5-star review on whatever audio platform you're listening to the podcast on. Share your story and how the podcast has helped you. This will help us get referred up in the audio platform so that we can reach more people that need our help, our support, and guidance from our doctors. Help us get loud and change things.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
Hey everyone, before we dive in, I really want to share something personal with you. About, I want to say like 8 to 10 months ago, after losing 100 pounds on GLP-1s and keeping it off for a long time, I started regaining out of nowhere, and I was terrified. But I also started having hot flashes and bouts of crying and snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m. unable to go back to sleep. It turns out I was in perimenopause. So I started hormone replacement therapy, which is also called HRT, through a telehealth called Winona that specializes in this. And it changed everything. And now I'm sleeping better. And my hot flashes are all but gone, thank God. And I feel like myself again. And it turns out that you can actually start perimenopause as early as 35. And well, I'm 46 and she's here. HRT has really come a long way and there's just no need to suffer anymore. So if you're like this and you're in the same boat, you can check out buywinona.com and you can use the link in our link tree to save some money.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper. With results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster. Confidence higher. Price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
That's what changed my life, is being able to do mental gymnastics to consider these things and have everything slow enough to where I wasn't just like drowning in food noise. You know, I'm curious, Jamie, like you don't talk a lot about that, what food noise was like for you. Do you have that or?
Oh, I mean, I had horrific food noise. I mean, I was thinking about eating all of the time. And in my case, I moved to like 10 times in 11 years for work. I lived in Kentucky and Seattle and London and North Dakota and all over the place. And every time I moved, I'd go to a place where I didn't know anyone. And so I was lonely often. And I after the food noise went away, I realized that I was eating out of emotion all the time, where good days, bad days, whatever would drive me to eat. And I was thinking about it all the time. And I use an analogy for food noise that if you're listening to this and you have someone in your life that doesn't understand it, explain it this way. Imagine you have a kid and you're going to a grocery store. Timmy, let's say you have Timmy, and Timmy wants a candy bar. And Timmy, you say, no, you can't have a candy bar. You know, we're having dinner soon. And Timmy throws a temper tantrum. And Timmy starts screaming and pounding on the floor and is so loud that you have a choice. I can give Timmy the candy bar because it'll make him be quiet and I can go about my day. Or I can just sit here and live in this and accomplish nothing and not get a single thing at this grocery store.
Wow, that's good.
And that's Timmy's food noise. Timmy throwing the tantrum is food noise. And a GLP-1 is like leaving Timmy at home when you go to the grocery store. It's not in your head all the time.
It's not the nanny.
Exactly. Behind me here is my pantry, and the first time I realized a huge change is I had bought Girl Scout cookies from a friend, and I went into the pantry to make dinner one night, and I realized that the Girl Scout cookies had been in there for like a month or two, and I forgot about them. Yeah. And prior to GLP, I would have been thinking about those cookies all the time. And they would have been constantly, and then it would be like, I can just have one, right? And with food noise, you begin to bargain with yourself and negotiate. And like, I can have one now and it's fine, but then you have two and it's like, well, I've already ruined the day, so I might as well order a pizza tonight. And well, I had pizza, so I should just get, like, that's what food noise is. And it sucks. It
does suck.
And you don't realize how bad it is until it's gone. And then you're like, well, is it any surprise at all that I had all this extra weight on me when I was battling this voice constantly and the people around me aren't? And it's such it's the best part for me about this whole process is not having that in my head anymore. Now I think about stuff like lifting weights or listening to podcasts or researching health and fitness. That's all I care about now. And it's replaced the food noise, and my life is so much better because of it.
I know. I love that. That was such a good analogy. I love that, Jamie. I think I'm super curious, and I would love to know for Dr. Koons on this one. There is a difference, and I am learning it now, and it is a hard lesson. There's a difference between hunger and food noise. I went for a very long time on these medicines without feeling hungry. And when I say a long time, I meant years. And then I got to a certain dose and a certain level and a certain amount of weight loss. And I had a dull roar of food noise. And then when I would get hungry and my stomach would growl, I would panic, like the mindset of that. But there is a difference between the two. And I think the mindset of figuring out like why hunger is a good, it's not a bad thing, right? Like, but to me, it's a bad thing because I never had hunger. I always had food noise. Like it was always Timmy, And then that adjustment, I'm wondering, Dr. Koons, when you talk with your patients about when or if they're going to feel hungry or at a certain point of their journey, are they going to feel that again? Like, how do you coach them through that?
I think that when we talk about the initiation of the GLP-1, we have this long conversation about expectations. Mm-hmm. And there's a honeymoon phase when you start a GLP-1. You know that happens, right? You fall in love with the way you feel. And then you get sort of accustomed to the way you feel. And then you just start to feel normal because you've reset your kind of set point. Yeah. And I think that most people don't realize what food noise is until they start a GLP-1 and it turns off.
Yeah.
That's not an idea that you had in your head until you turned the switch off. And you have to expect to learn what real hunger feels like because you're so used to just having the food noise all the time. And, I have watched many people go through this journey with the GLP-1. And I think that the food noise idea is such a powerful thing that the GLP-1s have taught us as humans. We had no real clue that this was a thing until we turned it off. We just thought, well, that's just how you feel,
Yeah, I'm just always hungry.
And my perception are two separate things. And, not to get tangential about it, but we see that people who start GLP-1s often stop smoking. They stop drinking. So there's a lot of noises that go away that aren't just food noise. So we know the biochemistry of the brain changes once you initiate these therapies.
I have a question. I'm sorry. You're still going.
No, go ahead. I'll just ramble all night if you let me. You stop.
So will I.
It popped into my head. So we're talking about healing from food noise, right? I maybe think of Kim. Kim is in particular kind of diet culture recovering. Didn't so much hurt. I mean, I don't know. It didn't affect me in that same way. Yeah. My question is, do you have your patients go through some sort of like, say, nutritional tracking versus not calling it like an eating program? Do you know what I mean? Like taking the diet out of the tracking, right?
Yeah, we do. Okay. So we are pretty intense when we initiate someone on any type of a body composition program. We call it a body composition program, especially if it includes a GLP-1. And we begin with resting metabolic rate testing. And I think that's a really important thing to do. So it's not very mainstream. Have any of you had resting metabolic rate testing?
I have not. Will you tell us what it
Jamie
is?
did, right?
I have. I had it 2 months ago.
Yeah. And Jamie, when you had it, where did you get that?
At my doctor's office, I'm an obesity specialist, and I don't. You can pronounce the machine like calorimeter or whatever, like
Yeah.
where
Calorimetry is,
where you like breathe into this thing for 10 minutes while you're fasted, and it tells you what your resting metabolic rate is.
So it is a very powerful tool. Okay. And we test everyone when they onboard at Bluegrass with their resting metabolic rate. But you can find these at some upscale gyms have them. Mostly obesity medicine specialists have them. Endocrinology offices have them. And then there are some businesses that just have them. And they're, usually priced somewhere between $75 to $100. So it's not an unbelievably expensive test. Unfortunately, most of the time insurance doesn't cover it. So it's an out-of-pocket test. But it can be very valuable because if I can figure out how many calories do you burn today accurately, I can set your macros and talk to you about how many calories do you need to consume. Otherwise, I'm just guessing. So, Jamie, your metabolic rate was
3,900,
which is incredible. That's unbelievable.
And what does that mean?
3,900. That's A plus. I mean, that's
how many calories I burn if I'm in a coma, pretty much.
Stop. Like if you don't move at all, you burn 3,900 calories.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's what it takes to maintain his basic bodily functions.
Yeah.
Okay, so he could be in bed all day and he would burn 3,900 calories.
Impressive.
So,
without eating or moving.
Without eating or moving. And then, so all of his eating, activity, moving, we get to add that to that number. Most people aren't going to fall like that. So when we talk about most women, we're going to see you somewhere between 1,600 and 2,000 calories. And most men are going to be between about 1,800 and 2,400 calories or somewhere in that range. But it matters to know this number because let's say, Kat, you are at 2,000 calories and Kim, you're at 1,500.
Yeah.
Okay. If I told you both, let's do a 1,500 calorie diet, Kat, you will lose weight. Kim, you're stalled.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know it, right? So we have to get that number to be accurate about it. Now, I understand all the listeners aren't going to have access to it. So we're just going to have to guess. And you're sitting in that range. But I tell people, we usually take your number. And if you want to lose weight, if you want to lose fat mass, taking 400 to 500 calories a day away from that is a safe zone for you. And that's a very safe 1 to 2 pounds per week. Okay. We don't really ever want to drop your calories below 1,200 per day because then you really do start to see some metabolic derangements and you can actually slow your rate down. But an important point, when you start a GLP-1 and begin to lose weight, we retest your metabolic rate at the 3, 6, and 9 month mark because we expect it to drop because as your weight drops, your metabolic rate drops. So Jamie, I wish I could know what you had been back when you were at your heaviest because it was probably fantastic.
Yeah, it was. And I think one of the things is I am fortunate. I mean, this is a weird thing to say. I'm fortunate in that my food noise is so bad that I did not go through a lot of cycles where I lost weight and regained. I did one significant time where I lost 100 pounds and regained it very quickly. But I think I showed about the muscle and fat earlier. What happens if you lose weight without resistance training? You lose muscle, and when you regain fat. So if you do that over and over and over again, it's going to, and I don't have to tell the doctor this, it's going to totally destroy your metabolism. Yeah. And in my case, the fact that I probably never lost a lot of muscle throughout the process and started resistance training early on during my weight loss process here, I was able to maintain a pretty high metabolic rate. So I'm guessing it was, who knows what it was at its highest, but shocking. I mean, if the thing as high as it was, imagine how many calories I had to be intaking to get to the weight that I was if my metabolic rate was in the, 6,000-7,000 a day or something.
Yeah. In terms of like, I feel like I hear this a lot, metabolism shot. I guess what I want to know is, can you repair it? Because I have been very open since the beginning that I struggled, not so much now because I exercise and I want to eat all the time. But before that, I really struggled to get enough calories. And so I sort of had to do these like mind trick things. Like I was like, I'm going to sit down and commit to, I did 3-bite rule. I'm going to commit to eating 3 bites of something. And then I found my brain would kind of re-engage and I could eat my meal. But I always struggled. I did not have guidance in the beginning. I didn't have guidance for like a year. I was just figuring out with everybody else on TikTok. it just
That's how
wasn't.
most people do it, though,
I
right? I mean,
know it's
True.
still, and it's
people
why I
do
made
it.
the show, like, because
Yeah.
people need it, and many people do not have access, and many people end up going gray market without a doctor at all because that's all they can afford and all they can get, and they're desperate.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that this information is here. I worry I've messed myself up because I went so long with eating so little, and now I don't even know what I should eat anymore. So if you were talking to someone like me, because I know there are people out there like me, because as soon as I make a video about it on TikTok and I'm honest like this, people blow up and say the same thing is happening to them.
Mhm.
So people that are like me that are out there that either didn't eat enough or yo-yoed or whatever it is, and maybe their metabolism is shot, can you repair it? What can you do? Quick pause here. I've had moments on my GLP-1 journey where insurance changes or rising costs force me to look for a new provider. And honestly, that process can feel very overwhelming. But that's why the Plus Size podcast is partnered with GLP Winner to give our subscribers a resource to help them make that decision easier. GLP Winner is a comparison platform that lets you explore telehealth providers in all 50 states, whether you're looking for brand name medications or compounded options. You can see pricing up front, read reviews, and get a clear picture of which provider might align best with your needs. Check it out today at glpwinner.com/plus-sides. That's glpwinner.com/plus-sides. Don't forget the Z. Let me tell you a quick story. I was telling Kat how I was regaining weight after my 100-pound loss using GLP-1 medications, and I was having snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m., and I had hot flashes, and I was worried. But Kat was like, listen, I went through this last year. It's perimenopause, and I started HRT, and she used this company called Winona. So I started going there to see if this was something that was going with me. Turns out it was, because I'm 46. And it's been amazing. It's taken a while to find the right dose, but once I did, it's just been huge. I've been sleeping. I feel more myself again. And the hot flashes are gone, which is really bad. So I will tell you, it's just been so big for me. And so I wanted to partner with them on the podcast because obviously many of our listeners are going through this same age range and definitely are having these issues. And there's just no need for you to suffer. So if you go to the link that's in our link tree, you can click on that and save money. If you go there and you meet all the criteria, and this might be something for you to try. So I just want to make sure you had this great resource because it's just been such a big difference for me and Kat. Again, you can go to the link in our link tree and get what you need.
"20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise." That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about the body. It's kind of just designed to repair itself, right? So you're not going to permanently, mess up your metabolism. But it is important that you maintain an adequate amount of calories and an adequate amount of really high quality protein. So for someone who says that, I would say you just need to focus in on protein. And I'm going to make a really good point about protein that we don't talk about enough. All protein is not equal. Okay. And so for the listener, I would ask you to do an experiment. Look at your sources of protein, pull up the nutrition label, and look at the number beside a protein, the grams that you think you're getting. And then let's teach them how to calculate how many grams of protein are actually in that, because the FDA doesn't regulate this in a way that makes it clear to Americans. So let's use, for example, a Larry and Lenny's cookie, which I have lots of people who love because that's like a protein cookie. They're actually horrible for you.
They're like five cookie, like 5 servings in one cookie or something like that, right?
Well, so yes, and they're an incomplete type of protein. So if you want to know how much protein is actually in the food you're eating, there's a really easy trick. Look at the percentage daily value, okay, that value over at the side, and divide that by 2. That's how much actual protein is in there. So you'll see in a lot of products, especially vegan products, because they're just not complete protein, it'll say 20 grams of protein, but then it'll say 20% of your daily value. And it's actually just 10 grams of protein. It's not 20 complete grams of protein. And so you're really not getting nutritionally complete protein, which is important when you're trying to repair muscle or change your body composition. It may not be as important when you're not doing those things, but most of us are always trying to repair. I'm personally always trying to repair muscle. right? That's what we're doing. And most people are always trying to change their body composition. So you need complete protein. And we're being marketed to like, oh, all these great sources of protein, when some of them are actually garbage. They don't have a complete protein in them. So always look at your percentage daily value and divide that by 2. And when you go do that, you're going to realize, well, this is a good food. This is probably not a good food. And so that's the nutrition 101 when we talk to people. Get your protein in and make sure it's great protein. Yeah. And because we're going to run out of time, I want to talk about stalls and talk about how do you
plateaus, the stalls, and
those are the 2 most common questions I get. What happens when I stall, and how do I wean? And I really want to talk about genetics as well, but
we can squeeze it in.
Yeah, we can squeeze it in. So what happens when you stall, right? Because stalls are natural when you're on any type of weight journey, stalls are natural. Stalls are particularly natural when you've been on GLP-1s for a while. And we find that as long as you're doing it under a medically directed practice, fasting is an unbelievable way to break a stall. Right. And we have patients who can actively fast for 24, 48, or 72 hours safely.
What if you're diabetic? Possible. Is it still safe if you're a diabetic?
In diabetes, you have to be way, way more careful. But for the majority of people who are non-diabetics, a 24-hour to 48-hour fast is very safe. And you should always do it under the supervision of a medical professional. And when I talk about fasting, you can have water. You can have your Coke Zero, Cat. You can have any like non-calorie drink. And we encourage you to drink lots of liquids because that helps you, and that's very important. But those fasts really kind of trick your liver into changing the way it deals with carbohydrates. And that can break through a stall better than most things that you can do. And if you can do fasted cardio, which I personally love doing, I think I get such an endorphin rush when I'm fasted and I'm doing some type of like light cardio. The endorphins that I get from that are unbelievable. You really will change your metabolic, and you will ignite your metabolic fire again. And that's really what you're trying to do. And then when you break your fast or when you begin to eat again, it's important that you get that high quality protein. So you don't want to break a fast with, a candy bar just because you've had 24 hours of fasting. You want to break that with high quality protein so that your liver is now not looking to burn glycogen, but it's actually trying to figure out what can we do with the fatty acids in our body.
For those of us in our audience who have still kind of suffer with eating disorders, and we're talking about fasting here, sometimes that can still kind of set somebody into the danger zone.
Yeah, I think you got to be very careful with that. I think that if you have a history of an eating disorder, it is something that you definitely have to do even more medically supervised because that is a slippery slope for sure. And that's a good point.
Yeah, could you do something like intermittent, maybe kind of.
Yeah, I personally hate the term intermittent fasting. I think it's a mainstream term. I like to call it time restricted feeding. It's kind of like diet and exercise, right? When you say intermittent fasting, everyone's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I call it time restricted feeding. So, these are the hours I eat. These are the hours I'm fasting. And I think that's an effective strategy for the long term as well. So that's how we deal with stalls. And I think that's an effective way to deal with stalls. If that doesn't work and you're in a real obesity medicine practice and you have good providers, you will recognize that GLP-1s are not the only medications you can take. And there are things that you can do, adjuncts that you can add on. I think topiramate is a great one, but there's lots of other medications out there that work fantastically with GLP-1s. And, you can talk with your provider about that. And then the big question is, do I keep taking the medicine forever or do I wean the medication? And I always say, well, the FDA says you can keep taking the medication forever, right? It's expensive. I think that's the downside. Even on the gray market, I hear it's expensive. So what do? We have been very successful at helping people wean from GLP-1s by taking continuous glucose monitors and using those as sort of a accountability partner. So if you don't know much about continuous glucose monitors, there are a couple that are commercially available. They are now available over the counter and relatively inexpensive. You put one of those on, you wean from the injectable, and you try to keep your blood sugar within a very, very tight range. And that is your accountability partner, because most of the time carbohydrates are the problem. For the vast majority of us, we're just carb lovers, and we are exposed to carbohydrates so much in the American diet that we can consume them in large amounts. And if you're watching your blood sugar with that blood glucose monitor, that's sort of a crutch to get you to a better lifestyle without the GLP-1. And I think that's the most successful way that we have done it.
I think
And,
that's interesting. I mean, I really, I do. I think we have to consider all this. We had Dr. Kessler on, who's the former head of the FDA a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago now. And he was saying like, maybe we come off them and then we go back on when we need to. Like maybe like we
That's
need
the next
some
thing.
sort of something, right? Like,
We
we need
tell everyone.
we
It
need
is
some
not.
sort of protocol, right?
I don't want you to think that it's a law. You're losing if you start your medication back, right? Lots of
Yeah.
people will start these back again,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Lots of people will continue these medications for a lifetime, just like you would take an antihypertensive if you had high blood pressure, or a statin if you had high cholesterol, right? You have the disease of obesity. We found something that works for you, and if we can financially afford that, perhaps the GLP-1 is something you do for life, and there's
Right.
no reason to stop it.
Yeah.
But you get mixed opinions about that. Some people don't want to be on them forever.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely.
I think I know. I think that I don't think I will. I would love to just be at a place where I don't need to, but I'm open to doing it if this is what I have to do. Because I have had obesity forever, and this kind of goes into some genetic talk. You want to talk some genetics before you go?
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about the genetic component of obesity, because we've studied lots of genes, and we found a couple genes that are very, very highly linked to obesity as a disease. And probably the most studied one in humans is the FTO gene. And we know that people who have an FTO gene SNP that predisposes them to obesity are more likely to be overweight as children and into adulthood. And that's just they're already starting behind. That's what they have to deal with. It's a disease process, and you've had it since birth. We also know that some people have mutations in their leptin receptor. And remember, leptin and ghrelin are two neuroendocrine molecules that are always telling us you're full, you're hungry, you're full, you're hungry. Some people have a mutation in their leptin receptor, and they're just always hungry. Like they don't feel full ever. And if you have a person who has an FTO gene SNP and a leptin receptor mutation, those are the people that really, really struggle. And those are the people that can sometimes get to 600 or 700 pounds. And, testing the genetics, it's a neat thing to do, but really you already know that you have the disease of obesity. You already know that you're going to struggle with that. So do you need to know if you have the genetic component? I don't really think you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just not a big proponent of testing, but I will say that there is a company that tests for these for free.
Really?
They get free.
They get data. I'm not.
So
They are collecting
I
data.
know what that is.
Well, actually, it's a pharmaceutical company, and they're really trying to sell a very specific drug for a very specific genetic mutation. But they'll test all of them for you for free in hopes that they'll find that one mutation and they can get someone on that drug.
What's the company?
So the company, I knew you would ask that. It's uncoveringrareobesity.com. So that's like the website. It has to be ordered by a physician. It has to be ordered by an obesity medicine physician.
Interesting.
We do order it for people who have a BMI of greater than 40, or who have told, they come in and like, well, I've been obese my entire life. I remember being 8 years old and struggling. We will order that for them. And, just because I want to see the information myself, but, sometimes it comes back positive and they're like, oh, I knew it. But then you have the person who struggled with obesity their entire life and it comes back negative. And sometimes that's almost a setback for them, because they're like, I really wanted this to explain why I feel the way I feel. And so the genetics aren't going to explain it for everyone. But for the people that do get that positive back, it reinforces and they kind of feel better about themselves. Knowing, okay, this cards have been stacked against me.
There really is a certain level of, I think, forgiving yourself that is really important on this journey. And I'm not going to lie. I think I've got it licked, and then bam, I am right back where I was again. That's just how it works. I think before you go in terms of stalls and plateaus, I would love for you to explain, why do we stall? And when we do plateau and we don't get to goal weight, which is a lot of people, right? Yeah. What do we do then? Is that just when we do the combined therapies? And
That's when you do the combined therapies for sure. But why do we stall?
Why do we stall? Why do we stop losing completely?
It's multifactorial, right? For one, your metabolism does decrease as you lose weight. Okay. We know that if we test your metabolic rate every month, we're going to see it steadily decline if you're losing weight. So that's one end of the equation. The other end of the equation is that you make less leptin when you lose weight. And so you don't really get that sense of fullness. And so, you have that leptin ghrelin in balance once you begin to lose weight, because ultimately our bodies are designed for survival, and the survival mechanism is let's get the calories in and let's keep it on, right? We need to be ready for the famine.
Right.
Yep.
So and that's the reason why we do it. So it's natural. It's going to happen. Everyone who's on a GLP-1 should expect a stall. I think you need to talk about that when you begin the journey. You will stall. You will get through it. You just have to, keep your head up and keep doing what you're doing. But stalls are normal. They're unbelievably common. And there's really not a lot we can do about it other than try to get you to fast and make sure you're getting your protein in.
I have one more question, and I swear I'll let you go.
No, I'll keep going.
Okay, you let me know. So in terms of regain on a GLP-1, I am not the only one, apparently, because my comment section's flooded right now of regaining some weight on a GLP-1, 10, 20 pounds, right? Whether it's like you started having hormonal changes, like that seems to be my sort of onset. I don't know, who knows? But I'm really wondering, like, how normal is that? I want people, for when it does happen, not to do what I did, which is fully panic and blame myself all over again. I would love to understand sort of the science behind that, how you deal with that with your patients, or really anything you got. What you got?
Yeah. So, a lot of the trial that we look at when we talk about regain are the Zepbound trials, because the Mounjaro Zepbound trials, even in the FDA trials, those people regained some weight. That was an expected thing. And so we know that that's going to happen for a lot of people. And again, it's just a part of the normal process, right?
Okay.
You regain some weight, you sort of readapt how you're eating, what you're eating. This is a time that we will often really change up the macros for people, and that will cut even more of their carbohydrates down. I think we have a balanced approach at first, but when we see that you're regaining, we will really increase your protein and really cut the carbohydrates back.
Okay.
And I think cutting the carbohydrates back is a good way to sort of reset that path that you're on and really help you get back on track. So I would advise you, if you feel like you're doing great and then you may just kind of begin to gain a little bit more, look at those macros carefully and make sure that the protein is high enough and it's a complete protein, and make sure that your carbohydrates are low enough. Because a lot of the time we really start to sneak the carbohydrates back in. We don't notice it. It's human behavior. They just sneak back in, and they're everywhere. You can't avoid them. They sneak back in and you don't recognize it. And that's one of the big problems. Oddly enough, I don't see people consuming a lot of fat on the GLP-1s. I think that the palate changes a little bit, and your taste and what you want must change, because you don't really try to consume the fats anymore, but the carbs still slip back in. And most people will say, hey, the bread's here again, or I just thought, well, I can do this now. And so I'm not eating as much, but I'm eating less protein and more carbs. And I think a lot of the time when you regain the weight, that's probably what happens. You were eating tons of protein and not a lot of carbs, and your calories are still really low. You're not eating a lot of food, but you've changed it. And now it's probably a lot more carbs and a lot less protein. So you have to be real conscious about that. And I tell everyone, it's difficult to get the protein, and you have to drink it. There's no way that you can eat it on your GLP-1. You're not going to get enough. You have to consume it through liquid, because your stomach feels so full and you really don't want to eat as much. But your protein, as Jamie said, is so important to maintain your muscle mass. So I tell people, be open about drinking it. The pre-made shakes are great. I mean, they may not be the healthiest thing in the world, but getting the protein in is the most important thing. Yeah. I like the mixes better. I just take the little shake. I love the mixes. But if I'm traveling, I'll stop at a gas station and be like, well, here's a 42-gram protein shake. That's what I'm going to have. Yeah. So I encourage people to be okay with that. That's an okay thing to do. Don't let the media tell you these are bad, because I see all kinds of TikToks that look at these protein shakes and they look at all the ingredients in there. Yeah, I mean, there's some ingredients in there, but you got to pick your battles, right? You can't battle everything.
Yeah, I love that. That's so helpful. I think it's really interesting too about the genetic piece, like, because I totally see what you're saying. It's like a double-edged sword. You might it might get you to a place where you can sort of accept and be able to heal and all of that, but then at the same time, it can be like, so I guess that's a good conversation that you should want to have with your doctor if you guys decide to do that, right? That no matter how it comes back, you have obesity now. Let's deal with that, right?
Yeah, like the result doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
right? You have the disease of obesity. Having the answer to the genetics is just a piece of the puzzle that's sort of irrelevant to your journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. I love it. Anything else you want to tell us before you go?
I know.
I think I covered everything I had on this list. Jamie,
All your
when you
hot
were
button
talking,
stuff.
I made all kinds of.
Jamie, do you have any questions?
No questions. I think the message I'd want to give folks out there is that you are not to blame, and you should not hate yourself for being where you're at now. The only way that you are going to get healthy is to seek help from medical providers.
Yes.
And know that loving yourself is the way to do that. And you can't just love your future self at whatever weight it is you think you'll be good at. You have to love yourself at your highest weight too. And I love my 650-pound self because I made hard decisions then to live healthier. And the hardest thing I do now is easy compared to an average day back then. So it's not too late for you to get help, whatever your age is or whatever your situation is, because if you can go from being 650 pounds like I was, not walking more than 20 feet, to now having a whole new life, if I can do that, trust me when I say that others can do it as well. But you only do it by asking for help and loving yourself along the way.
And I want to include in that, if your medical provider is not providing you with the care that you think is adequate, go find another one.
Fire them.
Right? I mean, if you're not getting what you need from them, and there's lots of bad providers out there. If you're not getting what you need from them, if they're not listening to you when you say, I'm having a stall, or I'm worried about what happens at the end, then maybe that's not the person that you need. And I know that it could be difficult to find someone that's going to listen, but when you find the person that understands what's going on with you and can really be on the journey with you, it will change your life. Having a good provider is life. And don't settle for just what you have because they're in front of you.
Yeah.
My doctor's on Zepbound, so he and I are literally on the journey together.
Oh, that is so fun.
Too cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like listening to.
Should we bring him on the show, Jamie? Let's talk.
Yeah, I think we want to do that.
Yeah.
But listening to this show, our listeners, there's a plethora of doctors that you can find that we know are awesome. They talk to us, right?
Yeah.
And Dr. Koons, I'm sure, knows someone who knows someone who knows someone where you're located.
Yeah, we'll find you someone. I've got a pretty good network of good providers across the nation that if I don't know one, I know someone who's nearby that probably knows one. Because it's the wild, wild west out there right now because of the money that's it's very dangerous, right? Like
it really is.
I think it
you don't know how bad until you're live. Then you see how bad things are.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you do lives, that's when you see.
Yeah. So just find a good one, or we'll help you find a good one, and good luck on the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much. I think there's also a website that you can go to try to find an obesity specialist as well, too, like where they're all listed. What's that called?
Yeah, so the Obesity Medicine Association has a really good provider search for you to find. And then if you really want to find someone who is educated on this, the American Board of Obesity Medicine has their provider list open. So you can go to the American Board of Obesity Medicine, type your state in, and it'll show you a list of providers in your state. And you'll be surprised that it's not an extensive list. But those are the people that have been vetted and have actually went through the board certification process like I did, and can understand not just the disease of obesity, but the metabolic disruptions that can happen with lots of diseases. Because once we get you to a weight that you're happy with, now we have to talk about how do we maintain that and how do we maintain metabolic health. So there's a lot of things going on there. And so I think I would look to that website on my provider.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I think that I've become very passionate about trying to get PCPs to understand this better because ultimately, they're the first line of defense, and there are not enough obesity specialists to handle the amount of people that have 100%. Obesity. I think they all need to understand it better, and I hope that they will watch our show and do that and have a plan in place for that, because if they can learn from the doctors on the show and they can learn from the patients, I think that we can change things. And again, idealistic, I'll end with that. But this has been incredibly helpful. Thank you so much, especially for explaining the withdrawals and the regains. I know that's been a massive thing. It's been a concern for me. I know Kat's gone through it too, and then gotten back on track, if you will, which I hate saying that because it's that assumes that there was a track that you were never on or that you had the able to be on. I don't even know. So I hate it. We need new words, but regardless.
It doesn't bother me, but yes, I get it.
Right. But go be with your family. Thank you so much for
Thanks for inviting me on.
Thank you so much. It was great.
This will be live tomorrow. So
okay. I'm gonna leave this running.
Okay.
Okay,
Occasionally
I'll run.
something
That's
going
for
on.
the babies.
Leave it running. That's cool. Well, that was a lovely conversation. Huzzah.
Huzzah.
Did you like it?
I thought it was wonderful. Like, I think anytime we hearing from scientists is great, but also hearing from doctors who are treating patients is awesome. And he's right. If you can find an obesity specialist out there, like someone's actually board certified in obesity medicine, it can be a total game changer for you. You talk about being on lives, some of the things you hear.
Yeah.
And I go live, 3 or 4 nights a week, and people say, my doctor. That's why I think what we do, the three of us do, is really important, because there are thousands of people starting GLP-1 each week, and they're getting no help from their doctors whatsoever. And they're going on TikTok because they go on TikTok anyway. So we happen to pop up in their feed, and they're coming to us for advice. And this is what I'm trying to do, but I'm not a doctor. I can only talk about my own experience.
Yeah.
And finding the right provider is hugely important for this process.
I agree. What I tell people a lot is I've sort of switched the gear shift. I'm like, I want to enable you to find the right doctor and to have the right conversation with a doctor that's prescribing you this to make sure they're the right one. So I answer the question from my perspective, what I've learned from doctors on the show. And I let them know the show is available there, because I know they'll find doctors and people to follow and all the things. But I also say, like, I want you to go back to your doctor and say this. And I don't know if it's actually working, but I'm hoping that it does, because I do think that we need to have our doctors be accountable for our care just as much as we have to be accountable for the choices and stuff that we make too. Right. But they need to provide us care, and we're worthy of it and we deserve it. And I just think that, like, we see how bad it is, because we wouldn't exist, Jamie. Like, our platforms and lives and things that we do wouldn't exist if everybody had great doctors that knew about obesity, that was treating them properly, that was guiding them through the journey. Like, it wouldn't exist. But the reason that people come there is because there's a deficit, right? There's a massive deficit. If people are on this medicine, have been prescribed this medicine and don't know what they're doing, not to mention the people that do not have the care of a doctor because they're going gray market, right? So I think that until that's fixed, I guess we're just going to be hanging out on lives.
Yeah, we'll be here for a while. The changing the entire perspective of medicine in general, like still recognizing obesity as an actual disease. That's going to take some time.
I think, like, maybe we could end with sort of round robin, like, what was our biggest takeaway from the OAC? So we went to many people helped us raise money, so the Kat and I could go to the Obesity Action Coalition, and we could be there for the conference. It was wonderful. The whole thing was wonderful, especially connecting with the people from TikTok, that are in our community and our fitness and everything. But I definitely love, and I've been replaying it in my head so many times. And I know we've said it here in different ways, but there was a doctor that came on stage, right? And he said, listen, he was like, obesity doesn't, or he said, overeating doesn't cause obesity.
Dr. Kushner. Yeah.
Right. Dr. Kushner. Yeah. He said, obesity causes the overeating. So, like, that goes back to when I tell you it's not your fault. Like, it doesn't really matter, like, necessarily, like, how you got here. What matters is that you are here and you deserve care, right? And it is not your fault. And there are things that you need to be accountable for. All those things that we talk about, moving your body and your nutrition, that's all important. But those are the pieces that you can control. There's nothing you can do about the things you can't control, other than to take your medicine and do the things that you can, So I thought that was a really big moment for me. But definitely also Sabina, who we're going to have on the show, from GLP Winner, was talking to me about how she thinks that this is sort of the, precipice or the pressure that we need to be able to possibly change how our healthcare system even works, which we all think is broken. I think everybody collectively thinks it needs to change and evolve and become better, because there's so many people that are sick with obesity, right? And so many people that, need these medicines and can't access them for blah, 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 blah reason. Right. And I think that that's a really good point. And that's why these voices and your voices, whether you're doing it on the internet, right, or you're talking to your doctor and pushing and creating that pressure, I think is so important. And I want everybody to just make sure you grab onto that voice and use it. Those were my big takeaways. What about you, Jamie? Did you have anyone in particular?
Yeah. I mean, I think, it clarified it for me even more. Healthcare is political. obesity is political, and whether or not you have access to these medications at a cost-effective way is a political thing. It's
Yeah.
part of our political system.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean, I don't mean partisan necessarily. I don't mean like
Right.
a certain
No.
party has the
Yeah.
is the winner on this. It's that our politicians, our senators, our representatives, and I say this, I mean, I have a whole political career, which we have not talked about, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what party a politician is, they are responsive to their constituents. They actually do. They listen to the people who talk to them.
Yeah.
And so right now, the people talking to them are big pharmaceutical companies, and it's big food. It's like the 5 companies that own our entire food environment. You know who's not talking to them? Patients. People out there who don't have access to GLP-1 because of cost, or people who are not using it yet and don't yet know they are going to need it in a few years.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility as a person who has obesity to be contacting our legislators, both state and federal, and demanding that they do something about this. And
Yes.
my takeaway from the OAC is that there is an organization out there that is trying their best to be our voice when it comes to dealing with legislation and politicians. They really need us, all of us out here, not just the creators who are doing the lives and making the posts, but the people who are just watching, the people who've never commented, the people who've never contacted their senator in their entire life. We need you every day to contact your senator and representative and say, do something, pass TROA, or at least pass legislation that forces insurance companies to cover this stuff. Anyway, I could be on a soapbox about this for hours. But that's my biggest takeaway is there's an organization that's trying to lead us through this, but they need voices like ours to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's on the Obesity Action Coalition website, and just populates things for you. And all you got to do is send a letter to your representative.
And I will have it in the podcast link tree in the show notes so that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important. Don't just think like, if anything, there's something they did when we were at the conference where they were like, scan this picture and it will automatically populate an email for you to send to the media that says to talk about obesity and blank, blank, blank away instead of talking about it like they talk about it now. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And we have to figure out how to do that for plus size where people can just do that. And I could just have a little QR code and they can just scan it, or there's a link and they could just do it. I want to find a way to leverage that technology to help people and have it be easy. So that we can get some movement, because it's probably easier to ignore one email, but it's hard to ignore a lot, right?
Politicians keep track. They have metrics. They know every day how many calls or letters or emails did we get about this topic, and was it pro or con?
Wow.
And they keep those metrics. And if they're getting 1,000 calls or emails a day about a specific topic, I bet every penny I have that they will start paying attention to it. But right now they're getting almost nothing about me.
They're just hearing from people who want to sell their medicine a lot, right? And that's very different than people who are out here suffering needlessly, right? And I think that it's important if you are, if we are so blessed to even be able to take these medicines, I feel like we have a responsibility, because I will tell you from experience, you may have it now, but if we are just so lucky to take it forever, if we are so blessed and so lucky, because people lose it all the time. They are always pulling it from us and pulling access. It happens all the time. And we have to find a way to change that. And I think that we can do it together. I really do. We can do it together.
What would your takeaway, Kat?
You what now?
Other than getting to have fun with me and
what was yours, Kat?
The big one is what Jamie mentioned. We've got to make noise. We've got to pester the snot out of our lawmakers. There's one thing that I did not catch her name, but I have one of her slides on my phone I'm looking at. That there's something that just really spoke to me, is that we all have our own internalized bias about what we had because of just the way society and the world moved around obesity. And so we did a lot of self-damage. We did a lot of things to ourselves because I know from my perspective, we didn't feel worthy. Or if I did take a risk, or if I did step out, I was always afraid I was going to be ridiculed. But I feel that there still is an internal bias that lives in us that makes us feel like are we worthy enough? Is it something for me to think of again? Oh, the fat people want rights. That's what spoke to me a lot. I forgot her name, but there is a lot of this. What basically the obesity bias has done to us has given us. We may not even realize that we have like an internal bias against it within ourselves, to ourselves. So something to consider and think of and work on.
Yeah, I definitely got that problem for sure. Like I slip right back, and it's deep seated, so I slip right back into it. But I think it's being able to recognize that help, because it's funny because a lot of times the way I talk to myself, I'm like, if anybody ever said this to you, you would be like, oh yeah, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? But I don't, and I think like there's a certain piece of it that's just, it's always going to be there and it's okay. But you have to recognize it and make adjustments, and I think that's where community comes into, right? Because they can a lot of times see the things that you can't see, and they may have answers that are softer that you need to hear in a moment where you're lost, So I hope that if you aren't following us on TikTok or Instagram and that you need a community, you will go there too. And of course, on the YouTube channel is where we go live. Yeah. So it's been so great talking with you, Jamie. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for joining us.
I'm so thankful that we're friends now, and it's just great. And hopefully I'll see you again soon, and we will do some more. The cat and I will be in the gym.
The next Obesity Action Coalition, Your Weight Matters events is next July. You what?
When is that? Do you know?
July 2026 in Orlando.
Oh, it's SeaWorld.
Oh yeah, that.
But he's passed away now, but Congressman John Lewis from Georgia used to always say, go out and get in some good trouble.
Good trouble. That's right. Get in the way and stay in the way.
Way more good trouble when it comes to this stuff. And
I love it.
Getting into some good trouble with both of you over the next few years.
I like that. Yes. John Lewis used to always say also that get in the way and stay in the way. Yes. You said good trouble. That's right.
Well, that is definitely us, isn't it? So
stay in the way.
Yes. Yep. Well, I hope this helped everybody
tonight.
Thanks
for helping us to do that, Jamie.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And we will see you next week. Hasta la pasta.
Hasta la pasta.
Let me tell you a quick story. I was telling Kat how I was regaining weight after my 100-pound loss using GLP-1 medications, and I was having snacky cravings and waking up at 3 a.m. and I had hot flashes, and I was worried. But Kat was like, listen, I went through this last year. It's perimenopause, and I started HRT, and she used this company called Winona. So I started going there to see if this was something that was going with me. Turns out it was, because I'm 46. And it's been amazing. It's taken a while to find the right dose, but once I did, it's just been huge. I've been sleeping. I feel more myself again, and the hot flashes are gone, which is really bad. So I will tell you, it's just been so big for me. And so I wanted to partner with them on the podcast because obviously many of our listeners are going through this same age range and definitely are having these issues. And there's just no need for you to suffer. So if you go to the link that's in our link tree, you can click on that and save money. If you go there and you meet all the criteria, and this might be something for you to try. So I just want to make sure you have this great resource because it's just been such a big difference for me and Kat. Again, you can go to the link in our link tree and get what you need. Today's episode is brought to you by Ro, a telehealth platform that's changing the game of GLP-1 access. What sets Ro apart? Ro understands the challenges of navigating insurance hurdles and the skyrocketing prices of GLP-1 medications. That's why they specialize in getting insurance approvals for GLP-1s. And if insurance is a barrier, they go a step further by prescribing brand name Zepbound vials for prices close to those of compound GLP-1s. With Ro, you're not just getting a prescription, you're getting a partner in your journey that's helping you access affordable treatment and guiding you every step of the way. Whether it's insurance approvals or cost-effective alternatives, Ro is here to make sure that you get the medication you need. Visit ro.co/plussides with a Z today to see how they can help you take control of your weight management journey with affordable, accessible care. That's ro.co/plussides with a Z, making healthcare work for you. Check out the link in our show notes for more details.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.